Rosario is a supernatural horror feature directed by Felipe Vargas with a script written by Alex Treza from the production companies Silk Mask and Mucho Mask Media, who had made the monster shark feature The Black Demon from 2023. The eponymous Rosario is a second-generation American whose parents toyed to chase the American dream and hoped for Rosario to succeed in her life, which she duly did as a stockbroker in modern-day Wall Street. On a particular wintry day, Rosario received a call that her grandmother had passed on alone in her apartment and needed a family member to help with settling matters. In the prologue, the audience will have an insight of Rosario's icy relationship with her abuela. From her recollection, was always shady and fiddling with unorthodox religious practices in her room. However, in Mexican culture, there was that strong family bond and respect for elders, as we had seen in even Pixar's Coco. Rosario did not disregard her ailing grandmother when she was a successful white-collar working in a respectable stockbroker firm. As the weather became increasingly inclement, Rosario arrived in an old and decrepit building where she had skin-crawling childhood memories in, and things did not get any better with her grandmother's body in rigor mortis in the living room and electricity was going to be cut. Rosario was starting to have scary visions on her way to the apartment building. The manifestations got even out of hand in the place where it originated. Our protagonist was going to be mired in perils that interchange between reality and illusions, none less scarier than the one preceding it. The plot was primed for a snow-in, one-location scare feature, something we will revisit after Sting from 2024, and this movie certainly had strong echoes of Evil Dead Rises from 2023, a movie I certainly hailed as the best horror film of that year. From the unscheduled manifestation that freaked out our heroine, to possession on someone you loved, to the unadulterated viscera unleashed on screen, to stymied by the confined space, it was so easy to compare the movies with one another. Once again, New York City as the backdrop also gave the movie another old school feel, with the transient subway scene gave me a strong 1990s horror feel, like a movie like Mimic. I enjoyed the black magic elements that the Grandma Griselda was dabbling in. We knew that Catholicism was widely followed fervently in Mexico, and we could see how pious Rosario's family was during her communion showcased in the prologue. During that sequence, Griselda proclaimed that this was not the religion she was following, and we as audience saw her religious artifacts that were closer to her Palo spellbook, and a syncretic religion that blended Catholicism with African spiritualism. Through the artifacts and journals Abuela left behind in the house, Rosario began to piece together what her grandmother was up to and had been fixated on a death-defying conjuring, and worse still, putting a curse on her granddaughter herself. A malevolent entity had been summoned and needed to be fed with blood on a daily basis, something Abuela had been able to satisfy before her death. The hunger needed to be transferred to someone else, especially the victim of the curse had willingly entered its lair. There was a Shyamalan-style twist at the end which was interesting and came when you thought the worst travails had come and gone. Sadly, the explanation was a bit rushed and the impact had been nullified, as the Anti-Immigration and Customs Enforcement or ICE sentiments is brewing in the States as Trump's administration is orchestrating mass deportation of Americans, many like Rosario's family who came for an American dream. The social commentary could not be more apt, especially how the supernatural forces came from a place of ambition to succeed in the country of opportunities. This was director Felipe Vargas' feature film directorial debut, and it was a competent piece of work. There was enough jump scares to keep me on the edge of my seat, and the narratives flowed competently. Scriptwriter Alex Treza had two previous instances of writing horror screenplay. He wrote Bearing the Axe for Joe Dante, which premiered in 2015, and followed up with We Summon the Darkness in 2020 for director Mark Meyers. So it's a 5 years interval for Treza for a decent horror script. In the lead role of Rosario, we have Canadian actress Emerald Tobia. The actress of Lebanese and Mexican origin made her name as Isabella Lightwood in the supernatural fantasy series Shadowhunters, which was based from the Mortal Instruments novel series from Cassandra Clare. Tobia played one of the titular Shadowhunters, a hybrid of human and angels whose life mission was to battle demons hiding within the mortal world. This felt like the best preparation for Tobia in the arduous role of Rosario, fighting an evil that's stealthy and life-threatening. One key supporting character was Rosario's father, Oscar, portrayed by Honduran character actor Jose Zuniga, who had about 100 of credits in TV and movies under his name, and he played Detective Wise in Constantine and Mr. Molina in Twilight. Oscar was the final tatter of kinship Rosario had, and their affection with each other gave the audience some form of solace. The most notable cast member has to be David Dastmalchian. In my review of Late Night with the Devil, we have already looked at how the recognizable actor had been building a solid horror repertoire. In Rosario, he played Griselda's sketchy and questionable neighbor, Joe. If you have watched enough movies, you knew the story arc for this type of characters, so I shall not go into much, neither was Dastmalchian's performance a noteworthy one. Can we really classify Rosario as a Latino horror to further bolster the impressive works we had seen from Mexico and South America in recent years? The marketing of the film certainly made it feel like it was a Latino horror movie, while the further we went into the movie, the American essence was overbearing, diluting the Latino feel. Nevertheless, Rosario is a decent horror movie made by a fresh-faced director who I will be rooting for better works in the future. I am awarding Rosario a 7 out of 10. I am not worldly enough to be up to date with what horror offerings we have on the global scale, as I am barely informed of the latest Asian horror films coming to the cinema. So I will be grateful if horror fans out there could give me a heads up of my blind spot of movies from South America, Africa or Europe. I will gladly seek them out and make a review. My previous review could generally be classified as a non-Hollywood offering, as the Aussie brothers directors Danny and Michael Filippo gave us the latest A24 elevated horror feature, Bring Her Back. If your grandmother has the ability to make a pact with the devil to help with changing the fortunes of the family, what would you like it to be? For me, maybe give me another few thousand subscribers to this channel? Okay, maybe not.